As you can hear, I have lost my voice, so that means that I have had thank you so much. I have had a lot of talking to do, not only today, but days before also. So hopefully it means that I will be the most efficient moderator ever you have had, simply keeping my intervention super short. And guys, no pressure. You have to fulfill the scene. But anyway, I think that one of the things we have to remember is that, or conclude today what we have heard, there is no ambition problem. There is a lot of ambition in all the Baltic states, but the problem is about the delivery. So the question is, do we really, really want it? Can we really, really do it? So as I promised to be most efficient one, so I will jump to the first question. And I'm really happy to have the panelists who we are having it here simply become, giving a European, Polish, and then Baltic perspective. So guys, keep those thoughts in your mind. So Walter, how is the offshore wind actually going or seen by you and as a supply chain representative? What is the story there?
Well, the good news is for all of you, I'm a very optimistic guy. Today I heard a lot of, let's say, pros, cons, and let's say, yeah, but what if this, but what if that? If you would have asked me this question, let's say, beginning of 2025, I would have said, well, it's pretty nasty, all those auctions failing. Nobody is interested. It was not only in Lithuania, but it was in Denmark, it was in the Netherlands, it was in Sweden, it was in the southern part of Europe. Now asking me that question as we are here, I'm pretty optimistic. And it always starts with the ambitions, which are there. That's the easy part. It's always the execution, which is the most difficult one. And put your, let's say, money where your mouth is, what they used to say. But if you look, all of us, what has happened over the last half year, this very successful, let's say, auction in the UK, CFD number 7, where 8.6 gigawatt was addressed to RWE, one of our biggest customers. If you now look what recently the ambassador of the Netherlands, thanks for that, addressed it already, has been decided in the Netherlands last week. Let's say we will address an additional 4 billion euro to come to 3 gigawatt additionally before 2032. If we look at what last week it was presented by the French government, I don't know if you've read it already, 10 gigawatt will be brought to auction 27-28. And one very particular part of that I want to share with you. I'm already thinking about the next stage of offshore wind, which is dynamic, floating. Maybe not so realistic here in the Baltics. But if you come to talk about France, Spain, Italy, Portugal, France addresses 10 gigawatt, out of which 5 gigawatt will be auctioned for floating offshore wind. Dynamic cable systems, a huge technology innovation, which we are working on already. So that is my message to you. The ambition is there, and we should not be so reluctant to start, let's say, building these projects. Also here in the Baltics, I mentioned it before this meeting, I have a bit of a feeling that we are lacking, well, I'm Dutch, sorry for that, but we are a bit lacking the entrepreneurship here in the Baltics to get it really done. I studied economics. I'm an auditor. So you would say, well, that's a blue-collared guy. But sometimes I think you even have to start executing a project, even though the Excel sheet doesn't completely fit your business case. So last, let's say, answer to this question is, I'm very optimistic, and I know all the boundaries which we have to fulfill, whether it's the bankability, whether it's the market saturation, and also to be realistic. I heard, I think it was Frank Oman, the CEO from Ignitis, saying, well, let's maybe realize one project in the next decade. I was a little bit in shock when I heard that, but maybe it's realistic. But let's say my ambition is much higher. And last remark, if you allow me to, we invested 200 million euro in a new facility. We addressed it all over Europe. Be aware, there is still lack of capacity if you look at, let's say, the demand, especially also for array cable, within the next 5-6 years. But I cannot lay off that factory for 2 or 3 years and then asking me, please, can you re-establish it? That will take me 5 years. you have to, let's say, get connected to the industry as well. Sorry for my very extensive answer.
No, super, because usually I'm considering to be optimistic, but now I can see there is somebody even more optimistic than me. Super,
Okay,
thank
good.
you for that. But let's go now to the Poland, and I think that this is super exciting experience to monitor and actually to learn from. Pawel, I know we have been both in the Baltics markets quite long time. You know us more than you are saying it out. But then guide us, what are the things we have to be ready to make the investment decision? What can we learn from Poland? And give a little bit, provocative insights that will the offshore wind happens in your perspective in the Baltics?
Was the question when?
We will go further later.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, Anu, thanks for this. Indeed, well, first, I'm also optimistic, and I believe there is a space for offshore wind in the Baltics. And if you ask me about what should happen, of course, I have a temptation to start with two-sided CFD. I will come back to this in a moment. But I think there is one step before, and this is a very clear alignment, I think, again, on the Baltics countries level altogether. How much offshore do you believe you need, and to which needs you need to address with the offshore? Because it was a few years ago when we started our journey in the Baltics, Anu, and you remember there were a lot of sites being tendered out in Estonia. Plenty of ideas about the auctions in Lithuania. Elwind, of course, on top. Latvia also had sites for offshore wind. I think it was just too much at the very beginning. Of course, it was ambitious level, and it had to start with something. But we are at the point now where there is a clear guidance required what you really want and how much you really need. And this is answer which you need to answer first, so that also the developers can take these projects, these initiatives very seriously. And of course, then if you answer this question, what is needed from your perspective, then we can discuss how to make it happen. And here, well, unfortunately, as an investor, I need to raise this point of bankable revenues. And without some good mechanisms, it will just not fly. Offshore, in terms of capex, has become more expensive because of the turbulence on the global level. Even after COVID, capex went up significantly. It requires support. Without this support, it will be hard for investors to come here and invest. And even if there are some who are brave enough to do it on a merchant basis, they will ask for PPA potential. If this is not there, then we are at the same point. So I don't want to put too much effort to discuss this two-sided CFD because you know it. Another thing is, of course, grid. For the investors, it is extremely important to know, okay, can we connect to the grid? And I think here there is not that much problematic because I remember the development plans of the TSOs in the Baltics, and some good thoughts have been shared. But yeah, it should be even sharpened in terms of timelines, discussions about what happens in terms of negative hours, curtailments, who pays, and so on. So this should be definitely also precisely mentioned, and all the other secondary legislations which define how this offshore wind work. This is the third step. So if you ask me also about what can be kind of looked in Poland that can be taken here in the Baltics, we have a good CFD system, and I can tell you, because I'm saying it, that I really believe in it, and I see there is competition, there is interest, there are investors, and the strike price in Poland are only a bit higher if we compare it in the real prices as in the UK. So the interest is there. What needs to be done about the CFD is to fight a bit with the myth that this is an extremely expensive mechanism, because I think it needs some education for people who maybe don't know this mechanism, how it really works, and who is paying for it, and that the prices can have different forecasts in the future and so on. So definitely this is something interesting. I think we have also quite a good regulation in Poland for the auctioning system, that the sites are divided into 3 buckets, especially in the last auction, and these buckets have different pricing levels. So it helps differentiating the projects, and that the projects can compete with each other even if they are super far away from the shore or so. Another experience I mentioned is this defense aspects. We have it very well solved in Poland at the level of communication with the Ministry of Defense. But I want to raise one aspect which may be important, especially here in the Baltics, is this N-1 rule, which needs to be well thought through, and potentially HVDC connections. We hear from our military partners that, well, of course, HVDC is a topic among the obvious threats. And when it comes to N-1 rule, this is the point where we can discuss later how many projects you need. For one, there is definitely a space. For two, probably yes, especially with the Elwind. I think this will also address the N-1 risk. I'm stopping now, too long.
Yeah, thank you. Johan, are you as optimistic as the other 2 panelists? How you see the Baltic markets? What's your insights? How you, as one of the developers in the market, looking at?
I think the Baltic markets are interesting. So if you count up all the developers and the development areas that we have here, so I think for the Baltics we have 15 areas, meaning that we have a lot of investors engaged, believing that offshore can solve the energy deficit that we have here. But at the same time, we are in a little bit awkward situation, which I would describe like a middle school dance. You know, the scene is set, there is music, there is lighting, there are people, but everybody is standing at the walls. No one is doing anything. Everybody is waiting for the first mover. So the market is keen to do offshore. Market wants to do. Market is learning what the other markets are doing. But we are missing this final trigger to actually make offshore wind happening. And there are several reasons why I think the discussion has been really tricky. And I really like what you showed on your slides, that if we are talking about the development project, we also have to be very cautious about what system needs we are addressing. And I think that has been missing in the discussion. So we as Enefit are also active in other renewable developments. You know, we are all investors dealing and seeing the same power price curves as the others. It has been a no-brainer to invest into technologies that are the cheapest. So hence we have seen a major build-out of solar, major build-out of onshore wind. But the issue with the model is that it really doesn't allow or incentivize investment into more expensive technologies as offshore wind is. And it fails to address that additional benefits that offshore wind has to the energy system. But, you know, the 15 areas that I mentioned, so they are good areas in a sense that they are relatively shallow. We have a grid that has been historically been used for significantly higher consumption that we have now. So we don't need to build completely new grid. We have to update, of course, and extend it. But still, the regional benefits here are substantial. And in that sense, I'm seeing a lot of opportunities, a little bit of awkwardness, but I'm still seeing that we are addressing a need in the system, and we are benefiting the system.
Johan, you know that I have to ask. We had a Lithuanian auction. You were not there. So you are not believing to the market then?
Well, we looked very closely and at the Lithuanian auction. We were really eager to see what is happening there. I think Lithuanian auction had maybe 2 aspects. So aspect 1, I think the project would have benefited from additional time for the development. And I'm seeing that this development is still done by the ministry, and I'm really eager to see the area going back to the auction soon. And the second part is that, you know, the auction conditions weren't optimal for the consumers. So if you looked at the AR7, so they started also with the 15-year period, but during the consultations they understood that, you know, if we increase this to 20-year length, it provides for the investors more clarity, It improves the axle, so I'm also a strong believer of axle. And with those two combined, I think the Lithuanian auction could attract much more interest than it did last time.
Super. And we have 10 minutes to go, just saying. We will do fast snapshots at the moment, and then we have a final question also. So, guys, what we need to do now to keep the offshore Baltics live? Because at the moment I can see that tension is there. So, who wants to start? What we need to do to keep the offshore in the Baltics alive?
I would definitely say align over the whole supply chain, so not only talking about potential investors, potential, let's say, finances, talk with the industry, talk with the engineers, talk with the government, but at the same time, we are at the back end of, let's say, realizing an offshore wind farm, yeah? We are helping to build such a wind farm, but please have us aligned already as from the start. And also this afternoon, we had a very nice discussion. I think it was with the project manager from Ignitis. We invited him already, together with Mr. Elro van den Burg, let's say the chair of our PIB, Partners in Business Clusters in the Netherlands, who's, let's say, organizing all this. Thanks for that, Elro. We really invite you to share with you our knowledge. The lessons learned was already touched upon when it comes to PGE. We have had our lessons learned as well with the Dutch industry, and not only TKF, but also the Van Oorts and the Sifs and the Boskalises as well. So please think on it from, let's say, an integral point of view. Don't underestimate, let's say, the time that we need to supply you, let's say, the decent, let's say, accessories and the cable that you need. We're more than happy. You don't need to sign any NDA to share with you the knowledge that we have established over the years, let's say the last 10, 15 years. Hang us in as from the beginning.
Pawel?
Well, I would like to for sure see how the offshore-related deployment is embedded in the strategic planning of the relevant states. So just simply saying, graph with on the timeline and when you really want to develop which capacities. Then a discussion about the support mechanisms. It doesn't have to be the same, but some sort of support mechanism. And touching upon the point number one, actually, also the grid connection capacity reserved for offshore wind deployment. I think when this is there, these are the three cornerstones on which you can build further.
And Johan, from your side?
Well, I think all three Baltic countries have a very clear ambition to reduce the imports, increase renewables, be fully sufficient. What we are missing is the clear roadmap, strategy, and the framework supporting this. So we as investors believe that offshore has a place. We want to be engaged in the discussion. If we are seeing that offshore is on the roadmap, it's in the plans, then I'm sure that investors are keeping the projects ready to be deployed as soon as it's necessary.
They are in the plans. Every country are saying the offshore is there, so okay.
That framework is still missing.
Okay, the final questions, because time is flying indeed. Next panel will be about with the politicians and the ministries and policy side. Can you each tell what each government or the Baltics should stop doing, continuing doing, and start doing? Who wants to start?
Well, I may be the most, let's say, remote, let's say, talking about the Baltics, but in general, I would say stop, let's say, throwing up all these, let's say, difficulties. We have to overcome difficulties anyway, but please, from a positive side, support the whole supply chain. It's never a stairway to heaven, and don't forget the offshore wind industry is still pretty young, yeah? It's establishing and it's, let's say, improving day by day, I would almost say. So stop with, let's say, well, building too much boundaries. Your second part of the question was?
Continue.
Well, continue to motivate us, continue to be creative on whether it's CFD, whether it's PPAs, whether it's anything. And the last one was?
Start.
Yeah. Start to walk the talk and, let's say, do what your heart tells you. And let's a bit of a, let's say, more, I wouldn't say philosophical, but we all are working on, let's say, to leave this world a bit a better place for, let's say, our children and the next generation. And I'm 200% convinced that offshore wind industry should be part of that. And rest assured, we don't have 25 years to, let's say, think whether it is necessary. And my last, maybe a little bit, let's say, naughty question. Yeah, if I look here, there elections are coming up, so there will be probably a new government, but that should not lead to, let's say, postponement and delay of another 4 to 5 years. And then my last remark is, we are here for the third time, so we are here really to share what we have with you. And I'm a bit, let's say, doubting whether I will, let's say, attend next year again. If your ambitions are not being, let's say, addressed to us, I would say even more reinforced than we saw it this time. Sorry for that, but we will keep on supporting, let's say, the Baltics to get this thing done together.
Super. Pawel?
When it comes to continue, I think what is definitely good is that you want to have offshore, you are investing in offshore, you are pre-surveying the sites in some countries. So this is super important to keep the pace, keep the momentum, even if you are taking decision not to immediately build it, keep this strategic option for the future, because at some point I'm pretty sure it will be needed. Continue exchanges like this. It's fantastic to have in an open way exchange the views. When it comes to start doing, and here a footnote, I don't want to sound arrogant towards the decision makers on the policy level. Maybe I'm not seeing everything, but what I'm slightly missing is this one voice of the Baltics, you know, in Europe, and maybe this could be enhanced if basically enhanced. And when it comes to stop. If you have already some lessons learned about, you know, auctions which were, let me say it, not successful, and take lessons learned out of this to avoid situations like this in the future.
The last one, Johan.
That pressure. So from the start-wise, I think it's a good time to look what Europe has gone through. So we had in the offshore market pretty turbulent time, so we can start taking the lessons learned from that and take this on to our own policy decisions. From the stop side, so I would say that we should stop thinking that the market will solve all the problems that there are. Market is good on deciding what assets should be dispatched. Market is really good on reacting on different events on different markets, but it will not solve everything. So there is an element of steering that the energy policy or energy mix requires, and this is something that we can do. And the last one was continue. From continuous side, we really appreciate the dialogue that we are having. So all 3 Baltic countries, the ministries, I think you should continue to accept us knocking on the door. I know we're not the best guess. We have so many questions, we have so many proposals, but I think the discussions that we have had has been truly a foundation that creates trust also in the system. So continue accepting us, continue thinking with us, and I think with that we can think where to go forward.
There is a really good question, and actually I have shared similar one with the panelists, and therefore I really want to ask it. The Baltic electricity market is so small and well integrated. Offshore wind is important part of energy in every country. Is it time for joint pan-Baltic offshore CFT? Who wants to take it? Pawel, you from outside, how you see it?
Probably it is an idea which could be seriously considered, because as I said in one of my remarks, instead of competing between each other, considering this volume of the market, this could be something which could foster competition and something which is definitely considerable.
I think it really could speed up, let's say, the development, not, let's say, having the battle on, let's say, parcels at sea. Again, it all comes to, let's say, sharing knowledge to speed up. Right? So sharing is multiplying. Don't fight for, let's say, every inch, but share your forces. Yeah.
Johan?
Yes. So I'm a strong believer that we can do more than one offshore wind farm here, even that we are tiny. But again, we
Thank
have.
you, I like that.
But we have competitive projects, and I think the interconnections, they work both ways. So we can supply energy when we have excess, and we can take energy when someone else has excess, and I think that's the point.
And just reflection maybe also that how you would solve then if there is a one CFD where the park will be locating and...
Where's the best CFD?
Okay. And then the final question. Where, in which country, the first offshore wind park will happen? Pawel? In the Baltics states.
Lithuania.
Johan?
Well, I'm vouching for the locals, so Latvians. So you have so much to learn from Estonians and Lithuanians who have had some tries. You can do this right in the first time.
I have no preference, but let it be more than one in the next 10 years.
Super. Guys, thank you. The time is over.